Hey there, Dan Martell here, serial entrepreneur, investor, and creator of SaaS Academy. And in this video, I'm wearing my legal shirt, but I'm going to teach you how to avoid the 5 major startup legal issues that I see come up over and over. And be sure to stay to the end where I tell you how to get access to my fundraising like a pro. If you've got legal issues or you're thinking you may, you're probably going to raise some venture capital to eventually grow your business. I'm going to share with you how the 3 phases of fundraising work with you at the end. So I do not play a lawyer on TV or the internet. This information is provided for informational purpose only. It is not legal advice. If you need some legal advice, I would highly recommend you reach out to an attorney. That being said, I have built 5 companies myself, raised venture capital for the last 2, helped hundreds of entrepreneurs raise hundreds of $1 millions in funding, and been involved in over 100 plus financings where I review docs and sign contracts, etc. So I've seen all the challenges from like the ghost founder running around with all this equity that nobody really understands why they have, to legal issues, being sued, co-founder infighting, you name it. I've seen it. And what I want to share with you today are the 5 top reasons that founders get in trouble and how to just overcome them so they're not an issue for you and your startup. Number 1, wrong entity. I'm just going to throw this out. I am, again, not a lawyer. I'm a Canadian on top of all of that. And we don't have LLCs in Canada. We just do everything from my understanding, as corporations. So if you're building a company that's going to give equity to other investors or teammates, et cetera, then just set it up as a corporation in Delaware. Don't mess with it. It's super simple. There's 2 documents that they give you. Most founders don't even deal with the second one. Again, I'm not getting into the legal construct of how to do it, but I'm just saying if you want to do it right, start off vanilla, Delaware corporation, make it a corporation. I don't care what people are saying about LLCs and tax efficiencies, et cetera. If you want to build a real venture-backed SaaS tech company, that's how you do it. Just keep it simple, easy peasy. Number 2, IP ownership, intellectual property. You've probably seen the movie The Social Network, where the Winklevoss twins end up walking away with hundreds of millions of dollars from Zuckerberg at Facebook. That is the kind of challenges that could come up if you're engaging with especially contractors to build technology for you, and eventually you're going to want to sell that company, because if they worked on it and you didn't have the right IP ownership agreement, then they might have a claim to that outcome. So the simple solution to solve this is in every employment contract, in every subcontractor agreement, et cetera, there's a very clear IP assignment, IP ownership clause that makes sure that as they're doing the work, are assigning you the IP of that work. And this is true. I've seen this many times where I've had companies get a contractor to build something, and they use a framework that they built for other clients, and it wasn't very clear that like the core framework was their IP and they were just customizing it for their solution, for your solution. And we just got to make sure that that is clear. So it's in the contracts, it's in the agreements, and you just make sure that that's there day one. Because if not, and you go to raise money, you might have to go back and get people to sign documents that they may not want to sign, which usually costs a little bit of money. So real quick, IP ownership, just make it part of the agreements and you'll be fine. Number 3, not setting up vesting. So vesting is essentially saying that I'm going to give you 10% of the company, but you only get allocated that over a period of time. Typically it's 4 years, and there's a 1-year cliff, meaning that if in the first 12 months they don't perform and you don't think that they're doing what they said they would do and your expectations are not being met, you can let them go and they get no equity. So the mistake that a lot of founders make is say like, oh, I'm going to bring on this biz dev guy and he says he wants 5% of the company, and they just give the person 5% of the company. They work for a few months, do some things, beat the bushes, as one guy told me. I had a guy, I'm not going to tell you his name, but I had a guy run around with 1% equity in my company, Flowtown, and he literally spent 4 months beating the bushes. This is what he tell me all the time. I'm beating the bushes, I'm drumming up business, and I'm just like, dude, you haven't gotten us any new deals, and it's done. But for some reason, I didn't know this, I allocated 1%. And when we went to raise our fundraising, we need to figure out how to convince this guy to sell us back that equity. So we were able to pull it off, but it could have been a lot worse than it was. And so to me, Nobody should get allocation. Even if you go to raise your next round of funding, there's even a thing called founder vesting, where the investors investing in the new round might say, hey, like, you guys each have, 50% today with the new round of funding. Maybe you guys each maintain 35%. We think that maybe we allocate 10% and the other 25 is vested over a 4-year period. Just because you never know how people are going to react as you grow. Can they grow with the organization? And if you don't have a way to throttle back somebody's equity allocation, what happens is you go to build this big business and this person doesn't perform or leaves, and they're running around with all this equity that you can't use to incentivize the next key hires you need to make. So that's why vesting to me should be part of the negotiation conversation at the very early days of building out your team. Number 4, not complying with securities laws. Now, if you haven't heard of a thing called a credit, and there's a bunch of other securities laws that I'm, again, not a lawyer, don't play one, but go educate yourself. The biggest one where I see founders breaching is raising money from non-accredited investors. So you hear this thing all the time, friends and family and fools, okay? The reality of it is you can't sell somebody a security if they are not an accredited investor. Now, this definition of what's an accredited investor changes all the time. There's been some new changes around the crowdfunding space, et cetera. So I don't know what it looks like in today when you're watching this, but all I'm going to say is you need to make sure that they are accredited. And here's where people are like, well, how would I get caught if nobody knows? Here's where I've seen it happen recently to one of my clients is they had a disgruntled investor, and then the investor went to their lawyer, and their lawyer said, well, you weren't even accredited, and then came back to the corporation. So you have it that way, where the investor's like, hey, where's my money? You're like, I'm a startup. I'm building this thing. We're still trying to figure it out. And they're like, this is crazy. I don't get it anymore. I want my money back. And you're like, you can't have your money back. And then they go see a lawyer, and then boom, you're busted. There's that, or maybe an accredited investor knows there's people on the cap table, on the capitalization table, that were not, and they could use that as well. So to cover your butt, make sure that everybody's accredited investors. To do that, you can just get them to sign a release statement saying that they are. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just telling you what I've seen my lawyers do. And that'll help you get past that. But just make sure you comply with all security laws. I don't know if you saw recently, even Elon Musk got himself in trouble in a huge, I think it was in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money, like a $10 million fine for tweeting something he shouldn't have. That violated this. So even somebody as smart as Elon can get himself in trouble, so just make sure you cover your butt. Number 5, not doing due diligence. If you're raising money from an investor, it is your responsibility as a founder to find out who this person is. How have they acted in the past? What is their vision for your startup, and where do you want to go? And is it aligned? Because if it's not, you're going to find yourself in a really bad situation as you raise your next rounds of funding. I have a client right now going through this right now where she has an investor that was kind of like, aggressive in their terms, and she felt at the beginning that maybe this person was off. And now that they're pivoting a little of the business and moving in a different direction, and they're about to close the next round, the new investors want certain terms that are very fair. Like I would say if it was aggressive, they're very fair, but the old investor is not willing to sign off on them. And because of that, they might actually block that next round of funding. So you need to make sure that if you're raising money from an investor, that you understand who they are, do your due diligence, talk to previous investments that they've made, to the founders, the CEOs, see how they acted when things didn't go right. That, to me, I don't want to talk to the people that you invested that are like hockey stick growth people. I want to talk to the ones that failed, were complete craters, and I want to know how you treated them, because that, to me, is going to tell me a lot about who you are than the successful ones. So to avoid the 5 major startup legal issues, number 1, don't set up the wrong entity. Number 2, ensure you set up the right IP ownership assignment. Number 3, not setting up vesting. Number 4, not complying with security laws. Number 5, not doing your due diligence. So if you do those 5 things, you're going to be sailing smooth when it comes to legal issues in your startup. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I want to share with you an incredible resource called Fundraising Like a Pro training. You can click the link below to get access for yourself. In it, I break down the fundraising process into 3 distinct phases. I share with you exactly how to get intros to investors, because if you didn't know this, they don't want to meet you, they want to be introduced to you. And I talk about why it's so important to do pre-marketing for your fundraising. So click the link below so you can get access to that training. And if you like this video, be sure to click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and there's somebody you care about that you think I can serve, feel free to share this video with them. As per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business, and I'll see you next Monday.